Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, members of the Plans Committee. It's 5 o'clock and I am starting the meeting. Welcome to this meeting of the Plans Committee on Thursday, the 17th of April 2025 at Charnwood Borough Council. Could I ask everyone present to please turn off your mobile phones or switch them to silent to ensure the meeting is distraction free? And would you do this now, please? May I remind all those present that this meeting is being live streamed to the Council's YouTube channel, and that by attending the meeting, you are giving your consent to being filmed. A notice with further information has been provided in the public gallery. Under the Openness of Local Government Bodies regulations, people may also film or record this meeting, and this is outside the Council's control. For those watching the live stream, the Planning Officer presentation has been published on the website for those who wish to view it, and it can be found on the agenda page for Plans Committee for the 17th of April 2025. Speakers will be called forward at the appropriate time and will have 3 minutes to speak. When 1 minute of time is remaining, they will be advised by our Council Democratic Services Officer, Ms. Dobson. I would also like to welcome Mr. Stuart Evans, our legal advisor, to the meeting for this evening. Right, before we start the meeting, I would like to draw the committee's attention to an amended recommendation in the extras report relating to item 5C, P/24/0327/2 Browns Lane, Loughborough. The planning officer recommends that the application be deferred for consideration at a later meeting to allow time for the AIAMS and landscape proposal to be amended, resubmitted, and considered by the Council's tree officer. Until this further information is submitted, the Council's tree officer objects to this application. And I'm going to ask our planning officer for this evening, Ms. Walker, would you like to make any further comments, please, Ms. Walker?
Yes, please, Chair, and thank you. Good evening, members. Yes, since the committee report was prepared, I've been made aware that there's a willow tree on site that wasn't within the tree assessment. And so, you know, we really need to have this tree surveyed, and so we understand, you know, its value. And such like. So we've asked the, you know, we'll be looking for an updated ARB report that covers this willow tree. And while that was happening and we were looking through the ARB report, the tree officer also made us aware that the landscaping scheme doesn't actually correspond with the tree report or the tree assessment that was submitted. So we would need to have an updated tree report, obviously with the willow tree contained within it and categorised as it should be, and an updated landscaping scheme that basically accords with the tree report. So we'll be asking you to defer the application until a later date when we have that information submitted. You know, just to allow you to make an informed decision with all the information that you need to make that decision. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms Walker. Following that brief presentation, what it remains for us to do is come to the vote. I understand that Councillor Corey Losley and Councillor Good, who is substituting this evening, have both declared an interest in this application, and therefore they will not participate in the vote. Councillor Smidovitz, please.
Thank you, Chair. I also can't vote tonight because I declared an interest in the past.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
Would you like me to leave the table, or would you
No.
be happy to?
At this stage, I'm happy for you to stay where you are.
Okay.
So therefore we have 3 councillors who cannot take part in the vote. And again, they are Councillor Cora Losley, Councillor Sarah Good and Councillor Smidovitz. So the rest of us, therefore, we'll move directly to that. May I have a show of hands, please, for all those in favour of deferring the application? Will you show your hands now, please?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 10.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Evans. So therefore, that application is deferred and we will not be dealing with it this evening. And it will be returned to the Plans Committee at the earliest available opportunity. I do thank you for your help in this matter. For those in the gallery who have come to hear this application, I do apologise, but you will understand, I'm sure, that we have to do this absolutely correctly. You've made very happy for you to stay and listen to the rest of the meeting, or if you wish to leave now, please do so. We'll now begin the meeting proper. Item 1, apologies. Ms Dobson, have we received any apologies, please?
We've received an apology from Councillor Palmer, and Councillor Good will be substitute.
Welcome to this evening's meeting, sir. Councillor Good, thank you. Right, item 2, minutes of the previous meetings. We've all seen the minutes of the previous meetings, colleagues. Is the committee happy to confirm those as a correct record of the minutes of the meeting held on the 20th of March 2025? Could I see a show of hands, please?
Gina.
Any against? And 1 abstention? Councillor Good, she was not present. Yes, thank you. The minutes of the previous meeting have been confirmed as a correct record, and I will sign them at the end of the meeting. Item 3, questions under committee procedure 12.8. Ms Dobson, have we received any questions, please?
Thank you, Chair. I confirm a question on notice under Committee Procedure 12.8 has been received from Mr Max Hunt regarding the estate plan for the Garendon Park Sustainable Urban Extension and associated matters. The question and response was published in the Extras report dated 16th of April 2025.
Thank you. Now, I understand that Councillor Hunt cannot attend the meeting this evening. Is that correct, Ms Dobson?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you. So therefore, as I understand that Mr Hunt is not at this meeting to ask any supplementary questions or statements, is the committee content to note the question and response? May I have a show of hands, please, if you are content?
That's unanimous, yeah. That's you.
Thanks. Thank you very much, colleagues. That was unanimous. Item 4, disclosures of pecuniary and personal interests. Ms Dobson, have we received any disclosures of interest, please?
I confirm I've received a declaration of interest from Councillor Corey Lowesley in item 5C, P240327/2, Browns Lane, Loughborough, who called in the application and was due to speak regarding the application. He is also known to the applicant, who owns the company, which in turn owns the freehold of the building in which he has purchased accommodation. I've also received a declaration from Councillor Good regarding item 5C, Browns Lane, Loughborough, who has put in an objection to the application, but obviously that item's been deferred now.
Thank you, Ms Dobson. And are there any other disclosures of interest that members wish to make? Councillor O'Neill.
Thank you, Chair. I live in Mount Sorrel, so the application P/24/2180/2, I am aware of it, but I am approaching this application with an open mind. And item 5B, which is application P/21/2602/2, which is in Queniborough. I am one of the ward councillors for that ward, but I'm approaching that issue with an open mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Neill. Are there any other declarations? Councillor Smiddovitz.
Ms Dobson, I I sent a long letter 2 years ago, so I objected, so I feel it's not appropriate.
Yes, we heard your declaration of interest right at the beginning of the meeting. Can I just confirm with Ms Dobson that Councillor Smidovitz's declaration was noted at that time? Or we have noted, we have it on notice.
Yes, that's right. I'll record it in the minutes. Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Right, we come to item 5. What we're really all here for, an actual planning application. So item 5, planning applications. Item 5A, number P/24/2180/2, 18 Loughborough Road, Mount Sorrel. And I understand that you are presenting for us, Mr. Worley.
That is correct. Thank you, Chair.
So please, when you're ready.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So this is the full title of the planning application in question. And it's just worth pausing here for a moment just to explain why we even have a planning application with all those references to Class E. And the reason, usually you can jump around Class E or any of the other classes without needing planning permission. But this one was locked down by ourselves, actually, in the formal decision to be the exact mix of uses that was presented to us then. So any deviation from that array of uses needs permission. Hence, this one has arisen. So the application is the greater part of the premises that we visited earlier. I've got plans with a bit more detail. So this is a floor plan, and if, oh, you can't see my cursor, that's the, I'll try and put the pointer on. There. So the application consists of, firstly, this rectangular area at the rear. So in the existing permission, that area, that quite large area, has got permission to be a soft play centre. And the other area this relates to is this area here. This area at the moment is a part of the shop. You might have seen when we passed that had baby clothes in the window, actually. So it's part of that operation. And what is proposed is to change the soft play area to office space, actually connected with the clothes shop, but that's not a particularly important point because it's the use we're judging, not the occupant. And also for this, which would be released by that shop, also to be office space, user unknown. This is a broader context of the same site, and the reason I've included this slide, and indeed the reason I drove you down there this afternoon, is because you'll note that the representations are all very focused on the parking situation down there. We hear some horror stories about how congested it is and how bad people's parking habits are in the immediate vicinity, and those representations lay the blame of a lot of that on this premises. So in terms of the considerations, that there's no, I should have said, there's no changes, physical changes to the building proposed at all. That's why I'm not showing you any elevations or anything like that. So in terms of the key considerations, there's a high level of policy compliance for being pretty much in the middle of Mount Sorrel from the policies lifted there. But there's an exception to that, which is that by a matter of yards, and I mean quite literally yards, because the adjacent pub is where the boundary lies. This is not in the identified Mount Sorrel local centre, and therefore office use is not a desired use. But we consider that that's okay because it would have been a different kind of town centre use anyway. So nothing is getting worse. In fact, you'd probably think office is less town centre centric than soft play it's replacing anyway. So nothing lost by that change, but not 100% policy compliance. Hence the reason it's here tonight, actually. On the big issue of parking and traffic and issues and access, we're convinced that the parking demands for the new uses would actually be less than the former uses. I don't know if any of you have had experience of visiting a soft play premises of late. I have. They're busy places, and an office with half a dozen people in it would pale into insignificance compared to a peak Saturday morning, for example, in a soft play. So in terms of those issues that are so challenging for residents, we think this actually will help to alleviate some of the excesses rather than make them worse. And highways are viewing it in the same way. So a clean bill of health on that score as well. And lastly, just because of its unusual nature, to flag up the conservation area, because it's unusual that we have a debate about a conservation area and no one's building anything. But the character of conservation areas can be affected by their use as well. If you imagine if you had a suburban street and one of the buildings became a supermarket or something, for example. But in this case, it's commercial to commercial, so we don't think the boat is rocked in any way. So a clean bill of health on that score as well. So we're quite happy that with that minor deviation policy, everything is in place, and therefore recommend approval with conditions. So what the conditions do is basically recycle those from the permission that's in place at the moment. And they do that because this will be a new permission, and if implemented, it would be this one we would have to use if we ever had to come to enforce. We can't sort of flip forward and backward in time to the predecessor. And also, like the last one, again, to nail down the use as it's now presented to us, because Class E is so very broad. There's stuff in there that we couldn't tolerate in this premises. So a bit like last time, we're saying that it has to be office, shop, cafe. Well, last time it was office, shop, cafe, soft play. So just being clear about those parameters.
Thank you, Mr. Worley. I have Councillor Fryer, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I do know the site, and we went past it today and again in the bus, and we did do a thorough site visit when it first came up. I have to agree with the officer, Ms. Worley, and I do think that the traffic problems and parking could be, I'm not saying how much mitigated, but from soft play to an office, I think it obviously will be less. And I can't imagine that the office will always be working, not every Saturday, so there will be less traffic in the area on a Saturday when the soft play was probably really well used. So therefore, I would like to propose that we accept the officer's recommendation with all the conditions as outlined in the report and by Mr. Worley. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fryer. Councillor Snort, please, and then Councillor Matthews.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Firstly, just for clarification, page 15, traffic regulation order, the bottom paragraph says, for the avoidance of doubt, the AH does not consider that a contribution could be sought in connection with these proposals. Does that mean these proposals are all the ones from Leicestershire County Council, or just that one?
Yeah, through you, Chair. Thank you. Yeah, with the former use, there was a suggestion. No, sorry, it's not the former use. There was a chapter in between where there was a proposal for quite a large pizza restaurant. And when that was doing the rounds, there was a suggestion of a traffic order in order to rationalise the parking situation down there. And so what Highways are telling us here is they don't think that's needed for this composition.
So what we're saying, Mr. Worley, is that it should be connection with this proposal and not these proposals, because that says internal layout, site access and internal layout. Am I reading it right? Or am I being... okay. The other thing is on the site access and internal layout, I noticed that since P23-2050 had been done, and there were some conditions around that, they've not actually been installed. How do we know that this is going to get installed if we pass it tonight?
Okay. Thanks. That relates back to the point where we need to reimpose the conditions. So not everything is in place. There's a couple of minor parts missing, if the truth be told. So if we're to keep going at them, because the premises will still function in the same way, you know, we'd be operating under authority of a new commission. So it has to have those conditions to enable us to do that, as did its predecessor.
Finally, if I may, on page 16, we look at 9 letters received from residents, and one of them is wheelchair and pushchair access on the pavement is often impossible due to poorly parked cars. Should the police been involved in the Crime and Disorder Act to actually say how we get them involved so we can overcome that?
Yes, Councillor Snart, and indeed they have been. The situation at times, I understand. I've never seen it at its worst, to be honest, but the way it's reported to us at times is pretty serious. The police have been down there, and the fire brigade have been down there because there's allegations that parking on both sides blocks, passageway and things like that. Many tickets have been issued and the county council have been involved to start looking at double yellow lines and things. I don't think a scheme as such has come forward yet, but relating all that back to this application, we think if anything this will help matters, not hinder, because less traffic will be attracted than if it was soft play. So maybe a step in the right direction.
Do note what one of the local councillors has said that he agrees with that. Therefore, I second the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Stewart. And you second the proposal. Thank you. Councillor Matthews, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah. Pretty much everything I was going to say has already been said pretty much word for word by Councillor Fryer. But I think it's definitely worth noting. I think this is going to reduce the traffic situation quite dramatically, as Mr. Worley has already quite clearly stated. Therefore, I think this application really, I would quite gladly have proposed it and quite gladly have seconded it. I'm pleased to see that's already been done with the first two speakers. So I'm very much in favour of this application.
Thank you, Councillor Matthews. Councillor Corey Leslie, please.
Thank you, Chair. Keep it quick. Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything that's been said so far, really. I just wanted to double check. I'm not too sure what difference it makes. But page 15 again, from the highways comments, it suggests that the one-way system is not being quite properly used, and they suggest adding a condition in to get some signs up so that it is. Just double checking that is in here, isn't it? We are going to do that.
Yeah, that's exactly the point I meant when I said some parts of it are missing at the moment, and all they want is clear arrows on the floor, so it's easy to recognise which is in and which is out.
I'm sorry about that. I will come to the vote. I can see no other hands up. We will come to the vote. Officer's recommendation has been proposed by Councillor Fryer, seconded by Councillor Snort. May I see a show of hands, please? All those in favour of officer's recommendation. Right. 13, that's unanimous. We accept that the application is passed. We accept officer's recommendation. Thank you. We come to item 5B now, number P21/2602/2 Barley Fields, Queneborough. And I understand you are also going to present this for us, Mr. Worley. When you're ready, please.
Thanks again, Chair. Yeah, so this is something of a long-running saga, as you can see by the application date on the screen there, 2021, which we hope is reaching its conclusion, but that rather depends on you tonight. So this is about the open space associated with a fairly modern housing estate, 5 or 6 years old, that wasn't constructed in exact accordance with its landscaping scheme at the time. For those on site visits, I think it was very much a picture painting 1,000 words doing that visit, because you could see the deviation that we're talking about and the consequence that it had. So this is, I don't know how many, it feels like about the 10th attempt that the developers have had to to try and compensate for that position by adjusting what is on site to make it more tolerable to all concerned. So that really is the site location plan, and it's that strange shape because they're the areas where changes are proposed. And really, you'll struggle to be able to follow this plan because of all of the detail on it. So I'll do my best. So what it comprises is there's a, I think it's about 1.5 metre higher mound of earth in this particular location with a slide running down it. That you can stand on, so it's big enough to stand on and climb up and all that. And the developer's supposed to slice that off the surface so that it no longer offers a vantage point into these adjacent gardens, because that's how it's been used incidentally during its existence. In a similar vein, those of you that were with us tonight would have seen that there's a like a zip wire on a frame that runs in approximately the location I'm showing now, and the proposal is to get rid of that altogether, again because it gives height, which gives better views and quite close to these houses here. The third aspect is to reroute the footpath. So at the moment this goes like this, if you can follow the cursor. And these houses are particularly vulnerable because there's no trees and bushes, and there's a change of level, which means their fence line is quite low. So when you're standing in this kind of area, you can properly look into their gardens and windows. So the idea is that we would try and not attract people to that area anymore by cutting the circular route a bit shorter. That would be coupled with a little bit of ground lowering here, and some more planting, and through the conditions, we're proposing that this area is fenced off as well. Again, it wouldn't stop anyone going there if they were determined enough, but it's certainly a deterrent. And if you go on site and see the condition of land that is fenced off on this scheme compared to that which isn't, you can see that there's certainly areas that are infrequently used, if not never used at all, because of the fences. So it seems quite effective. And similar over here. So there's some works proposed over here to flatten the land a bit, and we're also suggesting the fencing here follows a different route, again, to keep people or deter people from going to the boundary in this vicinity where you get a good view into that house in particular. Coupled with all of that, there's a minor adjustment to the swale proposed just here. That's just tidying up because its ends come too close to comfort for where the footpath cuts through, so just a minor health and safety issue. And finally, all of this would create, or has created and would continue to create, something of a camber on the land which allows water to flow towards the north boundary because it's sloped in that direction. And the residents have reported here that it pools here, and the fences in that area rot as a result. So we're proposing a condition that the developers revisit. There is some drainage down here, but they revisit it and check that it's doing what it should. And if it's not, well, upgrade it, for want of a better word. So I do have the levels proposals, but they're even harder to follow. That's what all this is. You really need a magnifying glass to see the different colours of line and the differences it makes. But apart from the mound I mentioned at the beginning, we're not talking metres difference of levels. We're talking half a metre at the most. This is a bit clearer. This red dotted line is the area of path that would disappear and be substituted over here instead. And that's a mound, and that's the little area of raised by that single house. So the issues are almost all about residential amenity. This is a long running saga has come from the residents that back onto the site feeling overlooked, and we believe hopefully we now have a package that it's not going to take everything away, won't make it perfect, but believe they can live with it. And I've received messages to that effect, and we don't have speakers here tonight screaming blue murder, so things seem to be heading in the right direction. We do have to have one eye on what we're doing to the area, because at the end of the day, it is a play and recreation space. So losing equipment is always done with a heavy heart. But it's one piece. Again, those of you that were with us today would have seen how well equipped it is. And one piece missing is regrettable, but not the end of the world. So we think we can tolerate that. Our open spaces officer hasn't objected, so that's reassuring. And finally, the drainage issue, which we think is just a bit of tidying up, really. And I've liaised with the developers over that condition, that revisiting of the drainage, and they're happy with the approach. So with all that in place, it's recommended for approval with just conditions to capture those things I've described about fencing and drainage.
Thank you, Mr. Worley. Thank you for your presentation. Now, I understand we have two speakers on this application. We have Mr. Richard Henderson from the applicant and Councillor Laurie Needham. So, Mr. Henderson, would you like to come forward first? No, you have to come. We put you in the hot seat, Mr. Henderson. Mr. Henderson, you have 3 minutes to speak. Ms. Dobson will warn you when you have 1 minute remaining. When you finish speaking, you can leave the meeting if you wish, or you can stay, return, and continue to watch and listen. And I hope you do, because it's very exciting. Don't listen to them. Mr. Henderson, when you're ready, please make your presentation.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of this application, which is recommended for approval. My name is Richard Henderson, and I'm the planning manager for Davidson's Homes. As stated in the report, the site has proved challenging in respect of delivering the infrastructure to serve the development and having consideration of the adjoining properties. I can only apologise for the nuisance that matter has caused. Based on the report and the recommendations, Davidson's will address the relevant matters accordingly. Davidson's have met officers and local councillor on site to understand the issues, which in turn has seen the final plan submitted before the committee. Works already undertaken to date have seen earth material removed from the site, and further areas are to be improved and will ensure a satisfactory set of arrangements at the site. The removal and rerouting of the path section will ensure a more suitable arrangement is provided. The further ground modelling will help this process, and the additional landscape works will also improve any amenity issues, which will further be safeguarded by the conditions proposed by the officers. Surface water issues have been raised, albeit both the LLFA and the Environment Agency raised no objections. The drainage infrastructure on site does operate as designed. All plot levels have been installed in accordance, and in order to ensure that the drainage runs into the network accordingly. Unfortunately, the two water events in recent months that have been referenced were exceptional occurrences. Off-site drainage taking water from the brook and the ponds was held back by blockages outside the site, and we believe that this was what caused water to back up. Joint investigations between the County Council Highways and flooding teams should confirm this. Davidson's have actively engaged with LCC, LLFA to seek to have the off-site matter rectified. We are also reviewing the on-site French drain and pond interaction and will agree relevant measures with the council. Maintenance matters are ongoing, and we will ensure long-term maintenance is undertaken accordingly. We are confident with the off-site matter resolved, there should be no backing up along, and along with the maintenance checking, this should not be an issue going forward. Davidson's will ensure that the relevant landscaping works are acted promptly, and will ensure that relevant landscaping is installed in the coming planting season. Davidson's Homes respectively request your support for the approval of this application. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Henderson. If you'd like to return. And then Councillor Needham, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the committee for hearing this today. Myself and the residents are really pleased to see this application finally come to committee. As it's been referenced earlier on in the meeting, this has been an ongoing issue for over 6 years. And you can probably see from the site history that the land levels were left so high in contradiction with the original conditions that the neighbours have been living with these privacy and ongoing issues for that entire time. They decided not to attend tonight because actually they all feel that this application does pretty much reach a compromise that addresses almost entirely all the issues. In the main, the residents are happy with it, they're content, but there's just a couple of things that we'd still like to raise. So as Mr. Henderson said, and Mr. Worley also mentioned, that area between the drainage pond and those homes at the top end of Glebe Way, the water, the soil behind those fences is constantly waterlogged. In the first set of drawings for these applications, which I think was back in January 24, that piece of raised land was also levelled off, and the residents do feel that that may go some way to stopping that waterlogged patch that's rotting their fences. Either way, and I know it's been mentioned tonight, we would like some reassurance that that drainage issue will actually be addressed. And because this appears to be our final chance to get this right, and it's been going on so long, I really would urge committee to make sure that all the loose ends on this are tied up tonight. The second thing is, again, about the privacy issues. They appreciate the path being moved and also the fencing put in, but what they are asking for in addition is also some quite dense scrub planting behind those fences, because they will stop your average walker, but they don't stop the children that climb over the fences, and that happens already. So they're asking that where that fencing's put in around the boundaries of their properties and the fences, if they could have some scrub planting, that would solve the issue when people are climbing over it to solve the privacy issues once and for all. And we do think, considering how long this has been going on, and we do appreciate the apology from Davidson's, that would be a small goodwill gesture just to make sure this is all happy tonight. And also, given that it's taken so long to get to this point, if it's within the committee's gift at all to put the shortest possible time frame on this work to be done, I know that the residents would appreciate it after all the years that they've needed to put up with these privacy issues. So in summary, committee, the residents are largely happy with this, but there's just a couple of issues there to address the waterlogging and the privacy issues behind the fencing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Needham. And again, you may stay or go as you. Thank you. Mr. Worley, please, would you like to respond to any of the points raised by the speakers?
No, thanks, Chair. I don't think there's anything for me to react to that.
Thank you, Mr. Worley. So I have Councillor Smidovic who wishes to speak, Councillor Matthews. Anyone else at this stage? Councillor Corey Losley, Councillor Snort. Anyone else? Okay. Councillor Smidovic, please.
Thank you, Chair. The conditions, there have been quite a few conditions that have been requested tonight. So I'd like to know the time frame, where they think it should be done by, and equally, who will be monitoring the conditions? Because I know we don't always monitor, but I think in this case, because of the length of time and the people that have been affected, it does sound like it's last chance saloon. So I think the conditions do need to be really itemised, and if we could hear those before the end of this meeting, it would be helpful with the time frame. Thank you, Chair.
Right, so the soggy ground and privacy seems to be the order of the day with this. Within minutes, seconds of hearing everything that's being said, the first thing that came into my mind is, why aren't we planting trees and shrubbery in front of the hedges? Why is that not on the plan at all? It's been requested from the gallery. I can't understand why if you want to block something, surely trees and shrubbery would be your first thinking rather than moving things, hacking things off. And why have we got no trees being planted?
Thank you, Chair. So I think we're safe in saying, aren't we, that the previous application has caused some flooding here. The comments from the Flooding Authority and the Environment Agency look a bit mixed, but they also mentioned the SUDS and that they're happy that the SUDS is fine, and that, you know, it's a bit of a blockage, it's a bit untidy, I think we said, but other than that, all good. But I was wondering, is there nothing as part of what we're discussing tonight? Can we add a management plan to that SUDS pond? Because they're often forgotten and just abandoned. There's one in my own ward that causes problems. I think it's something that as a committee we should be on the lookout for. Secondly, I was wondering, it mentions again on that same page, page 32, I think it is, that another application will be needed to be submitted for a culvert. So that's, am I right in thinking that's the little brook down in front of the fence? If so, is that correct? And will we be discussing this again? And then finally, as Councillor Smidovic said, what's the shortest time frame we can get this sorted by? How quickly can we compel this to happen?
Chairman, thank you. I noticed that the recommendation and the 3 is round about the drainage details shall be submitted. And I think the same thing in terms of getting that come forward. And we need a management plan, I believe, in terms of how we can deliver that. And probably around maintenance, and it seems that there are some maintenance issues around it in terms of the fencing and the waterlogging and such. So I think if we could put that all into a maintenance strategy or a management plan, I think that would get over the issues that the speakers have said, or the speaker has said tonight, in terms of the waterlogging and the privacy issues. Thank you.
Yeah, am I to understand that the drainage issues will also address the runoff into the neighbours' gardens and under their fences?
I see no other hands up at present. So would you like to respond now to the questions, please, Mr. Worley?
Certainly, I have a short list here. So in terms of the time frame and making all this happen, if I can answer in 2 parts, please. So the stuff that's associated with the conditions we're recommending tonight has a timetable built into those conditions. It says within 1 month. In terms of the whole package being implemented, including those changes that conditions bring, this will be a matter for our enforcement team. This obviously came from enforcement when things were first noticed weren't quite right, and that's where they will return to. I think I would choose the phrase champing at the bit to describe where our enforcement team is on this project just now. So I think the committee can be assured this won't be forgotten again. well, again, that's maybe a bit unfair. This won't be forgotten. And that's also the answer for the monitoring question from Councillor Spidovic. They're over this like a rash, frankly, and been waiting for resolution of this application in order to take the next steps. In terms of trees, Councillor Massew's question on trees, you went with this afternoon, were you? There's quite a lot of trees there. None particularly close to the suds, so they won't interfere with its flowing and its filling, or dump leaves in there. But each of these blobs is a tree, basically. They're immature or semi-mature at the moment because they've only been there 4 or 5 years, but they're starting to have an effect. And today they've greened up for the season, and you could start to understand the benefit they have in terms of not obstructing, but filtering views into the rear of these houses that we're concerned about. In terms of the management plan, that's already done and dusted. So what this is a revised approach that will parachute into a scheme that's otherwise settled. And part of what is settled is the management regime. It's just that they'll be managing something different to what they did first time around. And finally, I think on the question of drainage, one of the conditions is specifically about that drainage point. It's about revisiting what goes on along this north boundary, where the fences are that the neighbours have reported difficulties, and checking that it works and upgrading it if that's what has to happen. And I think you heard Mr. Henderson promise us they'll do that. So we seem to be speaking as one on this for once.
I have Councillor Snort, I have Councillor Matthews. Councillor Snort, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to be clear about the two items that were brought up in terms of the drainage and the waterlogging and the privacy issue raised by the councillor. The management plan you were talking about, does that cover that in terms of overcoming the problem that was raised?
Thanks, Councillor. Yeah, so the way we've pieced this together is put this 1 month timetable on the revisions we're asking them to make. And when they're settled, the whole thing will be maintained in that final form, which is a combination of old and new.
Councillor Matthews, please.
Hi, Mr. Wally. Yeah, I hear what you're saying with the trees and everything, and I can obviously see what trees are already there, and you've talked about what trees are already there. But it seems to me that there isn't enough for privacy. I kind of want to know, why aren't we putting more in addition to that? Not talking about what what's already there. I mean, it's been requested. I mean, the first thing that came in my head when we talked about the privacy issues when we first started hearing this application was, why aren't we blocking people's view with shrubbery? Trees that don't shed their leaves in the winter would make quite a lot of sense, which wouldn't cause issues with drainage. Create a barrier for the privacy side of things. Why aren't these trees being considered in this application, which I think would solve a lot of problems all year round for residents?
Mr. Worley, please.
And thanks again, Chair. So the quick answer to the question, why not more, is because we consider this packet of changes achieves what we need to achieve, which is mitigates the invasion of privacy that people have experienced for the last 4 or 5 years or whatever it is. That's a matter of judgment that you could disagree with. If you think more are needed, and indeed that trees are the answer, remember, trees will not block your view unless they're like a horrendous line of Leylandia or something like that. And they would be shot if we suggested they come in. But what they will do is, the word we use is filter the view. Soften the view. If you think that is necessary, and I've used that word deliberately as we do almost every meeting because it's what a condition has to satisfy. It would be within your gift to require more, and we could do that with a condition that would be on the similar lines to the ones that we're recommending, saying give us details of how you're going to do it.
I have to be honest. I do disagree a little bit with what you say, and I do think more trees and shrubbery is the way forward, as well as everything else in the application. Kind of proposing really that we should consider adding more trees and shrubbery to this application, and if we all have to vote on it, so be it. I just wondered how the committee feels about what I'm thinking quite passionately about this application.
Well, the way forward, Councillor Matthews, would be that someone proposes acceptance. I have a seconder, and then you can put forward your proposal as an amendment to that. But we'll see how we go along then, if you please. So I'm going to come to Councillor Infield next, please.
Sorry, it's there, around the corner. Sorry about that. Yes, very much along the lines that Councillor Matthews has been talking about. It was one of the things that Councillor Needham highlighted, that they were very pleased with all the things that were being planned, as I'm sure we all are, but they felt there was a need for additional planting along the boundary, not to completely screen off, but to give some additional protection. So I think formally we need to add that as a condition. So I'm not sure which way we do this, but to propose that we add that. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Infield. Councillor Fry, please.
I was on site today and I understand what's happening. Regarding the mention about screening, I believe Councillor Needham said that the residents would like some more shrubbery. Now, there is a difference between shrubbery, which can grow to 6 foot, 7 foot, and trees. If anybody's had a tree that does not shed in the winter, which is normally a form of fir or a leylandii, come and see my garden, because you have to take 6 feet off it every 2 years to keep it to 10 foot. I think also we have to be careful, and we did notice I noticed, I should say, on the site visit today, the houses that we are screening are mainly bungalows that are worse affected, and they haven't got 100-foot gardens. They've got quite small gardens, and they are putting up quite substantial fencing. And I believe I'm right, but Mr. Worley may correct me, that I think the ground that we're looking at, the houses' gardens would be facing south, and therefore, if you planted huge or trees that grow quite big to screen, you could be cutting out people's light, and that is another concern. I do think the proposals put forward, and on the whole, except for a couple of amendments I gather the residents are quite happy with, it is mainly the ground that is too high, and this is proposed to lower. Personally, if I was in a bungalow, I would not like evergreen trees at the end of my garden. Sorry, but that's my own personal life. Leylandii have to be cut back, and they're the only ones that give good screening from low down to high up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fryer. Councillor Good, please.
I think what was mentioned from Councillor Needham and others was it's a case of shrubs behind that fence as opposed to screening to discourage people going behind there and away from there. So I think that was added as an amendment as opposed to a leyland evergreen type. It's to discourage as opposed to screening that we were considering on there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Good. Well, to move us forward then, I am going to propose that we accept officer's recommendation. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Fryer. Now, Councillor Matthews, would you like to propose an amendment that will include asking the officers to look again at the question of planting appropriate shrubbery, however you want to?
Yeah, so I'd like to propose that we add an amendment, for adding trees and shrubbery to the application for privacy reasons.
Will you object, Councillor Matthews, if I add a little phrase in there, as appropriate? I agree with you, it does need more shrubbery and possibly more trees, but we're not standing on the site, we're looking at pictures. So I think it's when you're on site that you will be able to see what shrubbery is appropriate, what extra trees may need to be added.
Yeah, I'm happy to use the terms as appropriate, but as appropriate in order to create better substantial privacy is that wording I would like to see used.
Thank you for that. Mr. Worley, please.
Yeah, may I suggest to the committee how we go about this then? Can I suggest therefore, Councillor Matthews, that your amendment is to add a further condition requiring the submission of tree and shrub planting and its subsequent implementation, very much on the same lines as we've cast the conditions for drainage and for the fencing. And can you delegate the exact wording to us? Because I'm running out of steam.
What I want to say, it's actually saying it. Right, okay. So the exact wording I think that I'd like to put forward is that as appropriately in order to create substantial privacy for the residents, that the implementation of trees and shrubbery, further trees and shrubbery should be added to the application.
Councillor Fryer, are you happy to accept the amendment?
Yeah. And the process I will, but I think we must leave it to the expert. We also ought to be considering what the residents would like. It's not just what is convenient, what we consider.
Yes.
I mean, we have not mentioned consulting with the residents, how much shrubbery, trees. I mean, it's very difficult, but when you're on site, there are quite a lot of trees that are not mature yet. And in 10, 15 years, well, 5 years, they will be bigger, much bigger. So, yes, I will accept the amendment, but I think we do need to consider that this could affect their light and their pleasure. So I'll leave it to the officers to phrase it, but basically to what Councillor Matthews, to protect them from the shrubbery and, if necessary, trees as appropriate in consultation.
Councillor Worley, Mr. Worley, I'm promoting you now. No, maybe I'm demoting you. I don't know. Mr. Worley.
Believe it or not, that's happened to me before. Yeah, I think we've got the message loud and clear. So if you can make the resolution read something on the lines of a condition, the precise wording of which is delegated to officers, and we'll go ahead with what you've conveyed tonight.
Right, colleagues, I'm moving to the vote.
Has Councillor Matthews'
Oh.
amendment been seconded? I'm just checking.
Yes, just
Yes.
I just wanted to double check.
Yes, yes. We're moving to the, thank you, Mr. Evans, yes. We're moving to the vote. We have proposed officers accept officers' recommendation, proposed by me, seconded by Councillor Fryer, with amendments from Councillor Matthews, which have been accepted. Can I see a show of hands acceptance of officers' recommendation?
3, 4, 5, 13. 13, Chair.
The application is, I'm speechless. The application is carried. Thank you all very much indeed. Not yet. Now we have, there's more excitement to come. But Mr. Henderson and Councillor Needham, it doesn't get very much more exciting now. As if you did want to leave, I perfectly understand. We won't be offended. We come down then to item 6, quarterly informant's decision report, and you will find this on pages 124 to 127. Does the committee have any questions or comments about this report, please? Moving quickly on. Item 7, and I know this is a favourite with some of you. Yes. List of applications determined under delegated powers. And these can be found on pages 128 to 134. Does the committee have any questions or comments, please? Are you happy to note the report? Yes, thank you. And right, well, the record for the longest meeting that I attended was 5 3/4 hours. We started at 5 o'clock, we finished at 11:15. I think this may be on record at the other end, the shortest meeting we have ever got through, and I think it's taken us 1 hour and 8 minutes. So thank you all very much, and you can go home.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.